Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing great. As I always say, following the 3 H's of the channel, happy, healthy, and hydrated. And in this video, it's more stuff, more encounters from all over Europe. And just in general, Europe's history just is super interesting to me because there's so much going on at all times. And we probably don't even know the half of it, of what really happened back in the past, and I mean even now, Europe's huge. But anyways, if this interests you, pull up a stump with me, and let's jump into it. Thank you for watching. This is an event that happened at the Talavera Air Base in Spain, November 12th, 1976. The same day, there was first a radio interference that lasted a few minutes. The guards thought it was a sabotage, so they went to inspect the radio tower. Then, they saw a light in the sky that lasted 15 seconds. They called another guard with a dog to inspect. The three of them then heard eucalyptus twigs being broken, so they sent the dog. The dog came back with a patch of burnt hair. They tried to send him again, but he always came back with more burnt hair. Eventually, the dog started to move in circles around the soldiers. This is something the guard dogs do to defend their handlers. Then it happened. 3 soldiers saw the same 3-meter tall, human-shaped thing made out of points of light. One of the soldiers fainted. The other 2 shot 50 bullets at it, making whatever it was disappear. The next morning, 50 soldiers inspected the area. Not a single bullet casing was found, nor did they find any damage to any nearby walls. But the scientifics said that the weapons were fired. This is the short version of the Badajoz UFO incident. The soldier that fainted was in a coma for 13 days. He was interviewed a lot of times on Spanish paranormal media. The soldiers began to think that it seemed like that whatever this thing was had a force field because the dog kept having burnt hair and the bullets did nothing. This one time, I was walking out on the moor in South England. It was early in the evening, and the fog is just starting to roll in. I come to this boggy area. There's a real nice, strong peat smell in the air. I'm watching where I'm going, so I don't trip and fall into the bog. Someone, unfortunately, did last year, and they died. It's been raining for a few days by this point, which usually stirs up the bog stuff, and it often floats to the surface or gets pushed up by some change in density in the bog mud or something. I'm not sure. I'm not a geologist. So, to be honest, I probably went for a walk that day on the off chance that I might see something get brought up by the rain. I thought it might make a good story. Now, the fog starts to get thicker. I trip over a big rock that's sticking out of the mud. I swear for a minute, there's a tear in my pants and there's blood from my leg. I look over to what I tripped on. There's a rusty metal corner that's sticking out of the ground. I assume somebody dumped a fridge or a washing machine out in the moor, and it's too heavy to be brought up by the rain, so the dirt must have washed off of the part that's been uncovered. I look at it for a second, and then I realize it's not a fridge. I walk over to it, and I test the ground. It seems pretty solid. The thing is rusted completely. It looks like pig iron or something. It's been turned completely orange by the bog or the rain. I wipe more mud off. It's so clearly not a fridge that I'm now curious as hell. I think I may have found an engine block from an aircraft or something like that, some World War II relic. I spend the next half an hour wiping away mud and digging around the sides. This thing by now is about 2 feet tall and 1 by 1.5. There's no joints or seams. It's just a big, rusty, solid block of metal from what I can see. But on one side is some kind of circle. It looks like a stone carving in that it's set about half an inch deep into the block. I stand up. The fog has totally closed in around me. I can, all of a sudden, see a blue light bobbing up and down about 3 feet off the ground, maybe 10 yards away from me. I assume it's a key ring on somebody's bag, probably a hiker. I call out. The blue light carries on bobbing up and down, like somebody's walking. I yell a bit louder, thinking that it might be my dad having come look for me. I notice more blue lights. At first I thought that it was maybe a hiking group and that the blue lights are some kind of safety precaution against getting lost in the fog. But then I noticed more and more, and it can't be a group of people because they're not in a cluster. They're all beginning to surround me. The blue lights are bobbing up and down in every direction I look. I check that it's not my eyes playing tricks on me. I think it might be sunspots or some vision thing from crouching too long. The lights move when I turn my head, so they are there. I'm not mad. There's lights now all around me, the same blue as when you turn on a Bunsen burner on high, bobbing up and down. At this point, I start to get a little scared. Fog muffles noise and doesn't let it carry very far, but I swear I can hear whispering or giggling. I try to tell myself that it's somebody screwing with me. Suddenly, one of the lights shoots about 10 yards to the left in less than a second. I freeze. This isn't people. More and more of the lights start to zip about, always keeping about 3 feet off the ground. A few bob up to about 5 feet and then back. I bend down and grab a clod of mud and throw it at one of the lights. No result. I yell a bit more. I think, screw this. They're zipping around quite a bit now. I spot a gap a few yards wide in the lights. I run as fast as I can for it. I trip a few times. I'm covered in mud, swearing under my breath, and my heart feels like it's gonna burst out of my chest. I run until I have a stitch. I stop and look back the way I came. I can't see or hear anything. The fog is pea soup thick. I walk as fast as I can. I come off the moor in completely the wrong place, nowhere near where I usually come out, and I had to walk 5 miles along a road to get home. I locked my door. I didn't pluck up the courage to go out walking there until almost a week later, in the middle of the day, in the total sunshine, and no chance of encroaching fog. But I could never find the place where I was. I couldn't find the thing anymore. It's probably been covered up by shifting mud, or is sunk back into the ground. I don't want to think about what would have happened to me if I stayed there. But I don't know what that thing was. What was the symbol on it? Better yet, what the hell were those blue lights? And what were they going to do to me? Me and my friends decided to go deep into the woods somewhere in Northern Europe. We decided to hike to this old abandoned Cold War era military facility. We reached the facility after about 2 days of hiking. It was super cool, actually. We spent the day exploring and plinking birds with a 22. By nightfall, we set up a camp in one of the empty warehouses. We go outside to set up a campfire and make some stew or something to eat. All of a sudden, we hear the loudest but weirdest roar that at least I've ever heard. We all freeze, grab our rifles, and stare into the darkness. Something is moving 100 meters out. We hear it rushing through the woods into the facility area. We stand there, silent, listening, and just like that, it stops, and it's dead silence all around us. You can even hear the stew slowly simmering on the fire. We look at each other and have a brief whisper chat. We decide to carry on with making the stew. The next morning, we wake up and start packing. Everybody is in better spirits now. They're all making jokes about how we got scared of some bear or some other animal. But my buddy sees something lurking on top of the biggest facility building. We have to try and look at what it is, but it's much too far away, almost 200 meters. It's standing there on 2 legs. It looks like it's staring at us. It has to be huge. For you Americans, it would be about 7 feet, I believe. I reach for my binoculars to have a good look at whoever is trolling us with a ghillie suit on. Just as I find the binoculars in my bag, I hear my friends start shouting. I look, and the creature, or whatever it was, is running along the facility wall like a lizard, really, really fast. By this time I know that it's not a human, nor any animal that I know of. It disappears behind one big bunker structure. We are scared. Like, really scared. Even though it's daytime, we just want to get the hell out of there. As we're hiking back, we don't take any breaks before nightfall. As the sun goes down, we make camp and start preparing supper. Everyone's tense. We try to joke around. Eventually, we figure that the best thing to do is do a guard duty during the night. My shift is 01 to 03. The birds are singing like crazy. They do that during the night here. And I managed to see a lone rabbit hopping around our campsite. I would have shot at it, but I wanted to let my buddies rest. And then, all at once, all the birds stop. The rabbit stops. It raises its head like it's listening to something. Its ears twitch. And then, it takes off in a random direction, just like it's running for its life. I feel very uneasy. I flick on my flashlight and I shine it into the darkness. I was really hoping to see a glimpse of a fox or something that could have explained the strange behavior of the other animals, but the forest around us now seems empty. Just as I'm putting the light out, I see something move behind the bushes around 100 meters away. I could only see it because it was huge. I shine the light directly at the bushes, trying to get a good look through my 22 scope. I managed to see something moving there, and I believe I saw a pair of yellowish eyes. Then it stands up. To this day, I don't know what the hell it was, but it was hairy looking, very dark, and had a face. The face was of a lighter color, and there were 2 yellow eyes. That thing was around 7 feet tall, and mostly human-shaped. Although I didn't get a very clear look with my terrible flashlight, I was 100% sure that this thing wasn't a human, so I panicked. I raised my gun, and I lit it up. I emptied the whole 25-round Butler Creek mag in about 3 seconds. I barely even aimed. My buddies woke up and started shouting, and it was all chaos for about half a minute. I tried to tell them what had happened as fast as I could. Having dropped my flashlight, I didn't know if the creature had been hit, or if it was even there anymore. One of my buddies picked up the light and directed it at the direction I was pointing my gun at, and there it was, just standing. Suddenly, the thing just kind of falls down and starts slithering at us, making no noise at all. We start screaming. We grab our packs and guns and just start running, noping out of there. We must have ran 10 kilometers at a pretty good pace before taking a break. All of us are shaking. We didn't share a word. We walked the rest of the way to the public campground, weapons ready and listening to every crack. I've never been happy as I was when I saw some German tourists grilling sausages by their RV. They were like, "What the hell?" as soon as we exited the woods with guns and low ready stands. We said nothing to them. We walked to our car and drove away, breaking pretty much every speed limit on the way. We talked about the thing on the way home. None of us knew what it was, but everyone had seen it, and everyone was convinced that it was not human, nor any animal of any sort. We decided to stay away from the woods for a while. The problem is that the wildlife around here is scared of people, even children, and there hasn't been a bear sighting in over 80 years. So then, a few summers later, we decided to be tough guys and find out what the hell that thing was. This time, we would go with 3 ATVs in case we had to bail out. We took 2 cameras, 3 308s, and 1 1276 with slugs. There were 4 of us. We had a load of survival gear, and one of my buddies managed to get a Gen 2 NV camera. And in case things got out of hand, we had some explosive devices. Looking back, it was all some kind of lame fake operator tier stuff, but we thought we'd get famous if we actually killed it or got footage of it. Anyways, we entered the woods with our gear, headed for the facility. Again, at the facility, everything looked normal. The birds are singing. There's no signs of anything abnormal. We decide to map out the surrounding area and look for anything suspicious. We found nothing. We make camp at the very same warehouse as we did the last time. Night falls. Everything is still normal. We have guard shifts during the night, but nothing happens. The next day we begin exploring the woods area around the facility. We find a pile of peculiar dead trees that looked like somebody had hauled them there. Upon closer look, the trees are arranged in a fashion similar to a bird's nest. In the middle of this weird nest is a half-rotten moose carcass and a shit ton of different animal bones. We quietly start noping back to our campsite. We park our ATVs next to the warehouse. We keep our camp in. Upon entering this warehouse, we see all of our camping gear torn up. Our cameras are smashed against the floor. Our food is taken. Our sleeping bags ripped to pieces. We take everything we could in like a minute and start driving the hell out of there. This thing had been watching us the entire time, and we couldn't even see it. It's evening by the time that we get back to the public campground. A police officer stops us by the gates and checks our gun permits. Then the officer proceeds asking whether we wanted to volunteer for a search operation. Our ATVs would be much appreciated. A hiker had gone missing in the nearby forest around 20 kilometers from the facility site. We look at each other and say that maybe we'll be back tomorrow, and says it is getting late and we have to drive out of there. The dude who went missing was found dead eventually. We decided that we didn't want to go back there anymore, or even in that part of the country. So I hope you liked those encounters, or experiences, I guess. And if you have one of your own, I have an email in the description below that you can send them to if you'd want to, and I'll try to get back to you. In the description as well is a PayPal and a Patreon if you would like to donate to the channel that way, but obviously no pressure there. And I remember too, when I was a kid, I had a pen pal from Europe. I couldn't tell you what country they're from, but I remember even back then, as a kid, I was interested in like the paranormal, supernatural happenings and all that. And I had asked him in one of the letters that we exchanged if he ever had any ghost stories or anything creepy happen. And at the time, I was like, oh wow, this is spooky. But looking back, it's actually more terrifying now, because I think his sentence was just like, the man with the hat watches me when I sleep. And that just sounds like something right out of a horror movie. But yeah, I just kind of thought of that whenever I was recording all of these. So, I hope you enjoyed the 2 videos this week. They may have been a little shorter because I was trying to divide them up and stuff. But that's besides the point. I still hope you enjoyed them. And hopefully you enjoyed pulling up a stump. And if you're new to the channel, I'll put up some videos right here that you can check out if you want to. And for everyone else, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for pulling up a stump. Thank you for watching.